Live from the Washington, D.C. area, it's the Inside Scoop. All the news that our viewers want to know. Now, here's the host.
Hi folks, Cesar here. Welcome back. We're once again talking about the topic of guns and gun violence, gun laws in our country. You've probably heard of the shootings that happened this weekend. But my next guest is here to talk about more specifically maybe some of the gun laws that might be changed. My next guest is Jack Calhoun, CEO of Hope Matters. Thank you so much for coming on to the show.
Delighted to be here. Thank you.
You caught some of what the previous segments were about. Where do we start here? I mean, to bring some sort of sensible laws to create a safer environment overall.
You know, I think it's a little difficult to start on the macro level with the policy. This issue is preeminently an issue that has come home. It is in schools, Newtown, Roseburg. It is in theaters, Aurora. It is in the faith community, North Charleston.
It's everywhere.
It is everywhere. Yeah. There is no safe place. And so one of the messages, I think, there are 4 or 5 key messages to me. One is an alert to the conveners, the ministers, the principals, the sports coaches, anywhere there's an aggregation of folk. Second is citizenship, that everybody can take an action. Everybody can do something. For instance, she mentioned the gun stores earlier, your guest, about, in the stores, of putting a leaflet in there. Well, I might go a little further. We bank at Bank America. We've come down here, I came down here under the Carter administration to run all the kids' programs. They are wonderful. I know the tellers. We talk about their kids. We talk about my kids. I am going to go there and tell them that I love them. They've done a great job. I will no longer bank here. They're 2 stores away. McLean Service Center is adjacent to the gun store. They have helped me. The guy has helped me wonderfully with my car. I've been there a lot. You should know my cars. And I will go to him and thank him, but say, I can't do business here. Restaurant owners should be worried. They should be worried. So my fundamental point here, Cesar, is that everyone can do something. I have friends, a little elderly like me. We like convenience. People have to be inconvenienced for a while. They may have to drive an extra mile. Now, I also believe in making this quite public. I was with the picketers on Saturday, and after Newtown, I was picketing the gun show in Chantilly. And I'm not saying how wonderful I am saying there's a variety of actions you can take. If somebody doesn't want to get knee-deep in the legislation, they can take action by not shopping and by talking to the store owner. I've got a couple of other C's other than convening and citizenship. Would be also Congress and legislation, which is extremely important, cash to pay for these campaigns. And the final one would be a moral argument.
Conscious.
Conscious, thank you very much.
I'm here to help.
Thank you, terrific. I was thinking of Credo. I believe that every kid has a right to be safe. We all have a right to be safe. Just as your previous speaker said, she is now worried about her kids. She moved here. She moved to McLean. There's another point she makes that should worry the real estate agent. She's thinking, and a woman on the picket line with me, I asked her what she thought, and she said, we are now thinking of moving. That should be a message to the merchants. I mean, there's a larger issue about, and this is just absolutely huge, is that spinach was tainted 2 years ago. Remember how it was pulled from the shelves?
Right.
We are good at that. A drug is imperfect, that is pulled. You have a driver's license, I have a driver's license.
Cars are recalled.
Cars are recalled, seat belts, airbags, the whole business. I think 3 people died because of the tainted spinach. A lot were sick. I don't want to minimize it. But how many people died in Roseburg? Yeah. What are we doing? Yeah. Nothing.
On that note, I'll ask the folks in the studio to pull up the chart that compares the deaths by gun violence, murders, and the terrorist deaths.
Okay.
And I want to pull this up. This is a chart here for the folks at home. So if we just think about this, put this into perspective now. Since 2001, we've had deaths by terrorist acts in this country, 3,380. Acts of terrorism.
Right.
3,380 people.
Powerful slide. Powerful.
And if you keep up the slide, the number of deaths through the use of firearms, either by accident or violence, 406,000. So my point with this slide, and thank you for putting up that slide, folks, is there's a disconnect here. There's a disconnect that is completely detached from reality. When we talk about the risks of people and what they're exposed to on a daily basis, you are more at risk through harm through a firearm than you are.
Absolutely right.
But the terrorism
gets the news, gets the ink, gets the attention. And that's why, to me, the metaphor of home works. It really works. Home, school, home, church, home, restaurant, home, car repair. There's a wonderful book by Ursula Hegge called Stones from the River, and it's pre-Nazi Germany. And it's the little incremental decisions that everybody made that helped lead to this. Well, I don't buy bread any longer at Zimmerman's because, the rye isn't quite as good. Well, he's Jewish. Well, we had to remove Goldfarb from the soccer team because, he was a little uncomfortable. It's better for him. Every one of us is making little decisions, whether it's where we shop or what we're telling our real estate agent or this and that. And I'm not saying, we've got to work on the big picture, the availability of machine guns. I mean, just beyond belief. And I believe in gun ownership, sports weapons,
absolutely, sure.
Licensing, training, the whole business like we do for driver's license, but assault weapons. But my point is, we, if you really think about it, are complicit.
Yeah.
And less harshly stated, we all are responsible.
I can purchase a bazooka.
You can.
In Virginia. Now, how does that happen? To your point, it happens because people don't understand their inaction when you have elections.
Thank you.
Elections do matter. And Virginia is notorious for being like this conduit supply chain to the East Coast, the Central, just for completely out of control. And again, I'm not suggesting we take guns away from the law-abiding people. I'm not suggesting that, we take anyone's gun rights away. But to bring it back home on this topic, if people don't respond, if people don't act,
right,
guess what? You'll probably have another gun store opened up in some other part of Virginia that folks aren't aware that one's coming.
Well, you're exactly right. And it gets back to the point, we've got to act. And maybe there's another C in here, and thank you for helping with a conscious C.
Cerebral? We got to start thinking here?
Well,
we got to start to...
I think it's the whole issue of culture. And we can change culture. I mean, look at recent marriage laws. I mean, as wild as that was even seen as anathema 10, 15 years ago, culture can change. As demographics are changing and values are changing, this can change. I mean, from my feeling, it's got to change. I work with cities all over the country with this crime and violence issues. 15 cities for the federal government and 13 out in California. They are doing such extraordinary work in reducing violence. School programs, mentoring, job training, targeted enforcement. But as Bloomberg said when he was mayor of New York, he cut homicides down from over 2,000 to about 400. He said, we cannot go further without a change in the gun laws. And he has started the Mayors Against Gun Violence. So it is absolutely fundamental, a right in this country to be safe, to be free from fear. And we're not promising that to this generation.
Well, and that brings up, well, first of all, let me ask you, you were on the picket lines.
Yep.
What do the people on the other side tell you? I'm assuming you have conversations with them.
Well, I got yelled at. One guy said, "Commie Pinko," and I said,
What does that mean?
And I said that to him, man. I said, you got to update your shouting because that's so 60s and 70s. And then another guy held up a picture of a machine gun and said, "You're going to be eating that by 5 o'clock tonight." And a cop came up.
What does that mean?
Yeah. You don't belong here. What are you doing? This is, you're violating our American. And then a cop came up to me and said, "Sir, you have to move." And I said, "You know, I work all over the country with law enforcement. You guys are outgunned." He took off his glasses and he said, "Sir, I know, I am with you. But could you just move off private property?" And then probably because of my age, he said, "Sir, there's a tree over there that will give you shade." Law enforcement is worried about this. When I came over here tonight, a cop had pulled somebody over for speeding, and he had his hand on his gun, and the gun was half out as the guy was reaching for his, presumably, registration.
Really?
Afraid of getting shot.
Wow. So
it's huge.
Right, because they're able to sell armor-piercing ammo, and well,
it's got to stop. The gun store is just, I mean, the gun store in a wealthy community is huge. But what about the number of black and brown kids that are killed every single day without these headlines?
You're gonna rile me up here. I have a saying that they matter less.
Exactly.
They matter less. Give me some hope here. You said hope matters, so in a few closing moments here, give me some hope. Where does this go for us?
We're going to get this gun store out of there. That's one piece of hope. Two is California, Massachusetts, and other states have passed strict gun laws, and the more the states have laws, the lower the gun deaths. The states with no gun laws have higher deaths.
Sir, thank you so much. We're going to have you back on the show to talk about this a little bit more. Folks, thank you for joining us. We'll be right back.